Article 440.14 specifically addresses air conditioning and refrigerating equipment. This article dictates that outdoor disconnecting means must be both accessible and within sight of the equipment it serves. This requirement is central to ensuring safe and efficient maintenance and operation of air conditioning units, including those installed on slabs outside residential buildings. The rationale behind this rule is to provide a readily available and visible means of disconnecting power to the unit in case of emergencies or during servicing, minimizing potential hazards for technicians and homeowners alike. Article 110.26 Roman II, on the other hand, is a more general provision that applies to all electrical installations. It mandates that equipment should not be installed in locations where it is susceptible to physical damage. While seemingly relevant, this article doesn't specifically address the nuances of air conditioning disconnect placements. The interpretation of physical damage could be subjective, depending on the specific installation environment and potential risks present. In situations where both Article 440.14 and Article 110.26 Roman II seem applicable, the principle of precedence dictates that the more specific rule takes priority. Because Article 440.14 is tailored to air conditioning disconnects, its guidelines should be followed when determining the appropriate location. This means that while considering the potential for physical damage, the primary focus should be on ensuring the disconnect is accessible and within sight of the AC unit. Consider a scenario where a disconnect is placed directly above the AC unit, approximately 4 feet above the ground. An inspector might cite Article 110.26 Roman II, arguing that the disconnect is vulnerable to damage from lawnmowers or other equipment. However, if the disconnect is easily accessible and within sight of the unit, it technically complies with Article 440.14. In such cases, it might be prudent to engage in a discussion with the inspector, emphasizing the compliance with the specific requirements of Article 440.14 and exploring possible solutions that address both concerns. One possible solution could involve installing a physical barrier or guard around the disconnect to protect it from potential damage, while still maintaining accessibility and visibility. Another approach could be to relocate the disconnect slightly, if feasible, to minimize the risk of damage without violating the requirements of Article 440.14. When determining the ideal location for an AC disconnect, several factors should be taken into account. Firstly, accessibility is paramount. The disconnect should be easily reachable by technicians and homeowners without requiring the use of ladders or other equipment. This not only ensures safety but also facilitates quicker response times during emergencies. Secondly, visibility is crucial. The disconnect should be positioned in a way that allows a clear and unobstructed view from the AC unit. This enables technicians to quickly verify that the power is disconnected before commencing any work, reducing the risk of electrical shock. Thirdly, potential environmental factors should be considered. The disconnect should be protected from direct sunlight, rain, and other elements that could cause corrosion or damage over time. Additionally, it should be located away from areas prone to flooding or excessive moisture. Fourthly, compliance with local codes and regulations is essential. In addition to the NEC, local jurisdictions may have their own specific requirements for AC disconnect placement. It is important to consult with local authorities and obtain any necessary permits before installing the disconnect. Some common mistakes to avoid when installing AC disconnects include firstly, placing the disconnect behind obstructions such as bushes or fences, which can hinder accessibility and visibility. Secondly, installing the disconnect too close to the ground, which can increase the risk of damage from lawnmowers or other equipment. Thirdly, using undersized wiring or incorrect overcurrent protection, which can create a fire hazard. Fourthly, failing to properly ground the disconnect, which can increase the risk of electrical shock. Always ensure that the wiring and overcurrent protection are appropriately sized for the load, based on the AC unit's nameplate information and applicable NEC tables. Proper grounding is also essential for safety, and should be done in accordance with NEC Article 250. To further clarify the application of Article 440.14, it's helpful to consider some specific examples. Imagine an AC unit installed on a concrete pad next to a residential building. The disconnect is mounted in the wall of the building, within sight of the unit and easily accessible from the ground. This installation would generally comply with Article 440.14, assuming it also meets all other applicable requirements, such as proper wiring and overcurrent protection. Alternatively, consider an AC unit installed in a remote location, such as on the roof of a commercial building. In this case, the disconnect would need to be located in the roof, within sight of the unit and accessible via permanent means of access, such as a ladder or stairway. The disconnect should also be protected from the elements, such as by installing it in a weatherproof enclosure. When dealing with electrical inspections and potential code violations, it's important to maintain a professional and respectful approach. If an inspector cites a violation that you believe is unwarranted, politely explain your reasoning and provide supporting documentation such as the applicable NEC articles and manufacturer's specifications. If you are unable to reach an agreement with the inspector, you have the right to appeal the decision to a higher authority, such as the local building department or electrical board. However, it's generally best to try to resolve the issue amicably, as this can often lead to a more satisfactory outcome for all parties involved. In addition to Article 440.14 and Article 110.26 Roman II, several other NEC articles may be relevant to AC disconnect installations. Article 440.12, for example, addresses the rating and interrupting capacity of disconnecting means. It requires that the disconnect be capable of interrupting the locked rotor current of the AC unit, which is the current that flows when the motor is first started. Article 440.22 addresses the overcurrent protection of AC equipment. It requires that the AC unit be protected by an overcurrent device, such as a circuit breaker or fuse, that is sized appropriately for the unit's nameplate rating. Article 440.61 addresses the marking of AC equipment. It requires that the AC unit be clearly marked with its voltage, amperage, and other important information. These markings are essential for selecting the correct wiring, overcurrent protection, and disconnecting means. Article 310.15 outlines the requirements for conductor ampacity. It provides tables and formulas for determining the appropriate size of conductors based on their insulation type, ambient temperature, and other factors. Article 250 provides comprehensive requirements for grounding and bonding electrical systems. Proper grounding and bonding are essential for safety and for preventing electrical shock hazards. Additionally, local codes and regulations may impose further requirements on AC disconnect installations. These requirements may vary depending on the jurisdiction and the specific type of installation. It's crucial to consult with local authorities and obtain any necessary permits before commencing any work. Staying up to date on the latest version of the NEC and any applicable local codes is essential for ensuring compliance and safety. The NEC is revised every 3 years, and significant changes may be made from one edition to the next. Subscribing to industry publications, attending training courses, and participating in professional organizations can help you stay informed of the latest developments. In summary, properly locating an AC disconnect involves a careful consideration of several factors, including accessibility, visibility, environmental conditions, and compliance with applicable codes and regulations. While Article 440.14 provides specific guidance on the placement of AC disconnects, other NEC articles and local codes may also be relevant. By understanding and adhering to these requirements, you can ensure that AC disconnects are installed safely and effectively, minimizing the risk of electrical hazards and facilitating efficient maintenance and operation. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it's always best to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns.